The following podcast contains opinions which are intangible and pose no threat to your safety. It also contains spoilers, which are very real and may harm your viewing experience. You've been warned.
Today's Mistakes in Podcasting brought to you by Zombie Killer Mead.
Sponsor us, please.
Yeah. I got mead and I got the strongest beer I could find.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that helps you feel a little better.
Hopefully, yes.
What ABV is it?
It is stalling. 8.5.
8.5? That's not too bad.
That'll get you done.
Yeah, that'll do you. You should have tried to grab like a. Well, you said you grabbed a mead, right?
I did grab a mead.
Yeah, so that you're good. I was gonna say you could grab a wine, but I mean mead's pretty close.
I was thinking about it. Wine is traditionally my I feel like garbage drink.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just felt like steering away from it.
Yeah, wine is awful. It tastes like feet. It smells like feet. Wine is the worst.
I don't know what that says about me, but I actually like wine.
I can't, man. The only wine I can do is like a Pinot Grigio. That's about it.
I think we talked about this before, which is like a perfectly fine choice. I don't know. I'm more of a red guy.
Yeah.
I'm the color red.
You're red like the blood of your enemies.
Yes. And they are few in number, so I'm not particularly red.
I don't know.
I still like to think they are.
I feel like you got all the enemies. You're an asshole.
Do you know of some that I don't know about?
I know all kinds of things.
You have to tell me
about. I am a soothsayer. I can see the future, and I see your future, Cameron.
How does it look?
I see the many enemies you will face,
and their blood,
and the color of their blood is blue.
Oh wow! Plot twist.
Plot twist. Cameron fights aliens or bugs. I haven't decided which one yet.
Well. That's a good question. Which one's threatening the Earth more?
I'm fighting a bug right now, actually.
You're fighting a bug
There's
right
this
now.
cricket that somehow found its way into my house. And he's loud as shit. You'll probably hear him tonight, I bet, because I'm recording. He only comes up when I'm like, need it to be quiet, and then he'll just start beeping in the background. I can't stand him.
I think
don't
the
know
way
where he is
squatters'
either. I've
rights
tried
work.
so hard to find this fucker. I just can't find him. He's somewhere in the base, like near my studio. I think he's like in the wall somewhere, like in a crack in the wall. But
maybe you shouldn't have made the inside of your walls so inviting. I mean, come on.
Yeah, well, you know what? He's gonna die alone, so it's fine.
I don't know. I think by divine right, if he stays there a week, it's technically his house. Right? Is that how squatters' rights work?
That is not how squatters' rights work.
Oh.
I don't. I will not allow it. I will break open that wall and I will punch him in the gut. I'll grab him by his cricket torso and just start laying into him.
If I learned anything from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, you have to put a cat in the wall?
That's
true.
When
it's another cat. So maybe it's another cricket you have to put in there.
No, because then they'll breed and make more crickets.
I
could put another dude cricket in the wall.
How do you know this one's a dude?
Aren't the males the only ones who chirp? Maybe not. Maybe they both chirp. I'm not an entomologist. I do not know.
No, you're not.
But this ain't
do not study the... Oh.
Yeah, I was going for it. Well,
yeah.
It's fine. I'll just leave it there.
I was going to say, you're not an entomologist. You don't study the origin of words.
No, that's etymology, not entomology. Entomology is the study of bugs. Or do I... Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay, good.
You've succinctly explained my joke.
I'm sorry. I thought you were being legit. I thought you were saying, all right, wow, this is a good start.
Yes. That's
Whatever.
about, I mean, it's like leagues ahead of where I thought it was going to start. So.
Whatever. This ain't no podcast for learning. Nah, this podcast is all about the butterfly effect.
If you came here to learn, you will be sorely disappointed multiple times within the next roughly hour and a half.
I can learn you something good.
Learn me something good.
Learn me. Well, did you know that the whole point of our podcast tonight was a translation error by Americans?
I did not know that.
Yeah,
and actually,
you've been learned, son. I got this.
Despite my best efforts. That's funny. Super Castlevania 4. There, now you know what we're talking about.
Welcome, everybody.
I was looking it up, and I did note I saw something that said, like, they had changed the opening crawl from the Japanese version. So I thought that might be it, but I couldn't quite find the end of that particular thread.
Yes, I figured it out. But let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm Bam.
I'm Cam.
And this is Bits, Chips, and Flip Scripts. I forgot the name of our podcast.
You know what I realized, too? Is, like, our abbreviation, like, BC and FS, like, we could have done with, like, Bam, Cam, and Flip Scripts, but that's not as catchy, and I didn't come up with it.
I like Bits, Chips, and Flip Scripts. It's a good ring. It's fun to say. A little bit of changes. Anyway, this is the podcast where we change shit, and then we look and see what happens. I feel like that's a good description, right?
Yeah. I mean, with between me screwing up the outro last week, our last episode,
it's good.
And then you massively simplifying our opening intro statement.
Anyway, we take looks at elements and gameplay and narrative and all that good junk. We change up a thing or two and then speculate how it would affect the rest of this game. And today we're going to, for this episode, we're going to be doing Super Castlevania 4, which I remember liking when I was a kid.
So I never played this as a kid, and I've mentioned it a few times. Like I kind of hold the original Castlevania to this like special place in my heart. You know, really like
sure.
It just does such a good like job of exemplifying, you know, what it meant to be like a good gamer back in the day. You know, where you would die if you sucked.
Yes,
and if you were good, maybe you wouldn't die, or maybe you would. It's still possible.
You would die less.
Yes, but it really was like, you know, when so many games were like, they're trying to pad out their time by like, I don't know, just putting a bunch of crap in your way. Like Castlevania was like, there's not that much in the way, but you really have to know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So then Super Castlevania 4, by extension, would have to sort of be that brought into a new era, right? Like it's a spiritual remake of the original.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, in Japan, it is a legit remake.
I didn't realize that.
Uh-huh.
You learned me again.
I did. I'm doing it. I'm gonna learn you good, boy.
You're a teacher of things. So, I
the
just
scholar.
No. To start off with, like, I didn't dislike this game, but I was surprised with all the stuff I just said. How many parts of the game just made me like, you know, like I'm sitting there playing like, that's bullshit.
Yeah. All right. So here's the thing. I'm going to learn you one more time. So in the past couple days after we played this game, I played the first Castlevania.
Oh.
And I will tell you, it is very similar.
I believe you.
It is very similar. And then I was like, but what's going on? Like, why? Like, we're good, right? Like, we can do this. We're not, like, the best, but we're capable, right? We're intelligent human beings.
Gamers.
We're the good gamers.
We do this for a podcast. We do for fun. We have to be good.
Ooh. Well, surprise. We suck. And that's the thing. It's like, so using my brain that our species has taken thousands of years to develop, I realized, like, oh, let me just, like, take my time with it. And sure enough, like, I looked up some videos of people playing, and man, we were doing it so wrong. we were, it was so bad. I was like, there were so many face palmings. Like,
so was it that we were just rushing too much, or
we were rushing? Also, like, there's so many implements. Like, if you let your chain hang, it becomes a shield. Like, basically, the whole chain has a hitbox that blocks things.
Well, that's kind of like, I think that's an advanced Sheik strategy in like Super Smash Bros.
That's
Melee.
Exactly what it is, right? Like, It's about just like watching people play, and like it makes sense because the whole time, like in the game, you're using your entire hitbox of the entire whip, right? Mm-hmm. Like you know that things can hit it. I just never thought to dangle it in front of me for some reason. I don't know why, but
yeah, well, like because in the original game, pretty much everything that was thrown at you, if you were a canny whip user, you could hit it and it would not hit you. Like the classic example I always think of is those double skull like totem things that spit fireballs at you. Yeah, and it holds true in Super Castlevania 4 that when you whip the fireballs, they disappear.
Right.
And that was sort of to incent you to just like pay attention, right? Like, hey, if I just whip like an idiot with the delay on the whip and the fact that I can't move, like I'm going to get hit by these fireballs. But if I'm careful and methodical and I whip at the right time, they'll go away.
Right.
So it stands to reason that like hanging your whip down would sort of be the ultimate version of that defense-wise.
Yeah. We just sort of didn't pick up on it.
No, we didn't pick up on much.
No,
really.
That's the truth. But listen, we're not here to talk about how much we suck at this game. I don't need my feelings hurt. We're not here to talk about it,
and yet it's going to happen.
It is going to happen a lot because we were bad. We were so bad at this game.
You know, honestly, in some strange way, that makes me feel better. Like, because that means that if I go back with a fresh mind and a will to learn and improve, that I could be decent at this game.
Yeah, right.
But like the thing holding me back was, I mean, God, it was like 97 degrees and 98% humidity when we were trying to play. My dog was saddling up on everyone's crotch. Like,
yeah,
it was not a very conducive environment to, poning noobs or skeletons in this case.
It was fun though.
It was fun.
And it was the first time I got to see you rage, so I was super happy.
Oh man, that comes as a legitimate shock to me. I guess because we've been playing diaper games for babies. That is
absolutely why. This is our first manly game for men. This is a game that makes you have to put on aftershave. Like
even if you're a woman,
you've got a beard now because you played this game.
Yes.
All right, so let's go ahead and get right into the narrative before we explain our change.
Yeah, and this is fun because there's a little backstory behind this one.
Yeah.
So I'll let you, because you were the one who noticed it.
Okay, so I'm gonna go off of the Japanese one, right? So so basically the way it is that after 100 years, or like every 100 years or so, the Demon King Dracula rises again, summoning a demon army to reclaim the land as his own, fit for ghouls and other creatures of the night. And then there's the Belmont clan, which has made it their sacred duty to defeat him. And so they send their newest warrior, Simon, to fight back the demon forces and lay Dracula to rest once again. Pretty cut, pretty clean. In the American version, this game, of course, came out way after Simon's Quest, which was the second one, if I'm correct.
Yes, it was Castlevania 2.
So
Simon's
they
Quest.
Changed it to say that it's the same thing. After 100 years have passed, the Demon King Dracula has risen again, blah, blah, blah. But at the end, they say the Belmont clan sends Simon once again to fight back Dracula.
Is that the translation error?
That's the translation error. So they made it so that in the American version, Simon's coming back to fight Dracula, even though 100 years have passed. Which goes right into our change, I feel like, without delay. Our change is going to be, we're going to go by the American translation, and Simon Belmont is well over 100 years old.
Yeah, no, it's funny because we were talking about it. It was like, oh, yeah, he's 100 years old. And then like the first note was like, oh, yeah, it states it's been 100 years. And the second note era was like, well, if we really wanted to be nitpicky about it, like he'd be like 125.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how old he was supposed to be.
Older than
100
dirt,
years
though.
ago, but yeah, right.
This poor guy.
Not necessarily prime demon hunting or undead killing age.
Not surprisingly, the American translation is no longer used.
It's been decanonized.
Just a little bit, but
and it's not Final Fantasy 3, it's Final Fantasy 6.
It's Doki Doki Panic. Even though like most of the Mario franchise uses those characters still.
Yeah.
Seriously, man, like between Shy Guys and Birdo, like
Birdo. It just reminds me of like, it's like people are like, well, if evolution is real, then why do we still have monkeys? It's like, well, if that was Doki Doki Panic, then why do we still have Birdo? That's actually a better question than the first one.
A national treasure. Don't even. Birdo literally is my favorite Mario character. I'll lay that out right now. Or as she's known in Japan, Catherine.
Oh yeah.
I love it. It's so good. It's the best character.
Jeez.
All right. So with Simon Belmont being 100 years old, let's go ahead and see how that would affect the rest of the game.
Can I ask real quick, like before we get into the meat of it, does it specify who the character is supposed to be in the Japanese version?
In the Japanese version, it does say that it's Simon. It is Simon Belmont, the newest warrior or something like that. Like he's fresh because this is a remake of it's supposed to be a remake of the first Castlevania. And it was advertised.
So, like the chronology gets messed up with the fact that this was Super Castlevania 4 in America.
Exactly. So they were like, oh no, it's got to be after Simon's quest. And it's like, oh, no.
Gotcha. Well, I think Simon was the character in the first one too.
He is. Simon's the character in the first one, the second one, and the third one is Richter, I believe.
Okay, that makes sense, yeah.
And then in the fourth one, of course, it's Simon again because it's a remake. Or, I mean, like when I was younger, I always took it as like that. I didn't really care too much for canon by this time. I was a little too young to care. Yeah. But I just took it like, oh yeah, just as like the Zeldas are non-canonical, this is just another Simon, right? We always see Mario, but it's not like he's, the same Mario from Mario World as he is in Mario 2.
Whoa. That's a bold stance, and I will not stand behind you.
So it's the same way like The Simpsons never age, right? It was just a thing. So I never paid too much.
That's a better example.
Yeah, I never paid too much mind to it, and then I just looking until we played it. I was like, oh wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird, right? Like the thing is that like this game's such an anomaly. It really is because there was Castlevania 1, which I've given enough lip service. Sure. There's Simon's Quest, which like, objectively speaking, is not a good game, but it really it did set the stage for the modern, however you want to define the word modern, like Metroidvania game, right? It was.
Wait, what? How?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the map? The way the map works out, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, like modern Metroidvania games are playable, and the NPCs don't lie to you. But I mean, the concept was there.
I don't remember a whole lot of like RPG elements outside. Well, I guess the RPG elements of a Metroidvania is get this power up, right? Like when I think of Metroid, there's never like NPCs that talk to you. It's usually you grabbed this and you got that. So that's like the Metroidvania aspect of that. I don't put NPCs into that category. But no. You can freshen it up any other way, right?
Right. Well, I mean, like, it depends really on like how. I don't want to get on a tangent here, but like how.
Go for it.
How much of a purist you are as to what constitutes a Metroidvania, right? Like,
I agree with that. Yeah.
The first example in my mind is Hollow Knight because I've been playing a crap ton of that game and it's amazing. I'm probably going to do an episode about it at some point.
Right. Whenever I decide to buy it, finally.
Yeah. And to be fair, like, while a lot of Metroidvanias, like, do not have like a town setting like that game does.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's like a necessarily a very important part of the formula, right? I haven't actually played Symphony of the Night, but I don't think it has a town.
Not that I'm aware of. No, it's mostly just kill things and get power ups and.
But you also level up in that game, right? Like that actually has like a level in like the stats and whatever.
Right.
Again, I'm really off the cuff here because I've never played it. But
sure.
Yeah. But anyway, so and that's why this game's so weird, right? I mean, it is in the American sensibility where it's Super Castlevania 4 because it's chronologically the fourth game that we got and is labeled as such to us. And so it's like, oh, that's weird. They tried all this like stuff and then they went back to the original like formula. But then after this, like, I don't know the exact chronology, but I know at a certain point they made, Symphony of the Night. And then kind of after that, that was what Castlevania was.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't really know why or how that kind of came about. The only thing I could really chalk that up to would be like whoever was producing it or working on it at the time was like, oh yeah, we like this better. Let's just make that.
Sure.
I mean, because Symphony of the Night obviously is like considered one of the best Castlevanias, if not the best Castlevania. And for anything, it did solidify the franchise, right? So I really don't know why they went back to original Castlevania style and then left it for what we know as, Metroidvania. I honestly couldn't tell you. But I'm not a huge fan of that decision. I like the challenging platformer Castlevania more than I like the Metroidvania style Castlevania. But
I think again, I can't say this with any degree of like authority. Yeah. But let's just assume that I agree with that statement, which I don't necessarily. But like, even if I didn't like Symphony of the Night as a game, like I'm glad it exists because I'm glad it led to just the Metroidvania idea. Like there's something to me, you're going to get your money's worth out of a Metroidvania, you could put 100 hours into that game easy, getting everything and fighting all the really hard bosses. And I mean, granted, some of that's going to be like getting your ass kicked, but
right. Most of that is getting your ass kicked.
Yeah. But again, like because the bosses are so hard and you
right.
beat them, it's such a triumph and blah, 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 blah. This is not a game design podcast. Bam. What
right.
did you
but
change?
I just want right. Exactly. I just want to get into the fact that, like I don't dislike Symphony of the Night. I like it a lot. I'm just saying, like, of the two styles, I prefer the buff platforming, right? So, but yeah. All right. Anyway, so the butterfly effect, right? Let's go ahead and do that. That's what we're about. We'll get there eventually.
You wouldn't know it if you listen to the first 25 minutes of this episode.
You bet your ass.
Or any episode, to be fair.
I was gonna say, tangents ahoy. I feel like I just have to make the first change, right? I'm sure you got whatever, but I have to step in and tell you. So we're 125 years old. Clearly, this whole game is now going to take place early in the morning. That is the first thing that's going to happen.
And if you play for more than 6 hours, you have to eat dinner at 3 p.m.
You have to eat dinner at 3 p.m. We can't start without our coffee. Black, of course.
Yes.
Yep. And maybe like a trip to like McDonald's for breakfast or whatever. But
and everyone knows you there. Yeah, the first level is McDonald's.
The first level is just... Okay, so the first level is literally just you're sitting at an inn drinking coffee and everyone knows who you are and they're all just like, hey, what's up? And how's your daughter? Kind of. I feel like, that's absolutely how it is. And then you're going to step outside. It's a bright and sunny day. Maybe, well, it's not bright and sunny. It's cloudy, right? But it's still like the middle of the day. You are not heading to that castle after noon, right? It's definitely before noon. It's like 10 a.m. and you're getting there.
So... I like how in this reality, this horrible dread castle rises from the ground, and with it, scores and legions of bats block out the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And 125-year-old Simon Belmont's like, man, I need to get my buzz on. Need to get me a McGriddle. But that's so true to form.
He can't start the day without having a little something. He's got to put his dentures in and scarf some McMuffins down and drink his coffee before he gets to work.
As we all should. Maybe this is missing from my life.
It's a proper morning routine, I think, for everyone to follow.
When you were describing it, I was like, that sounds so relaxing.
He's got this horror looming in the distance, and he's just sitting there nibbling on like a sausage biscuit. And it's the olden days, so there's tons of gravy.
Dun, like the organ is like dun 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 dun, and then you see old ass Simon Belmont like, like all wholesome and.
If I knew the song to Matlock, I'd be whistling that instead, just to fit.
Oh wait! Oh my god! Okay, so what does old Simon wear?
Okay, so I don't think old people get cold real fast, right? That's just a thing. I don't think he'd be having his legs showing. But then at the same time, old people wear shorts that basically come up to their crotch. So I don't know, like, it's hard to fit, right? Like, where do we go from here?
I'm just imagining, like, I mean, if he's gonna go fight Dracula, he has at least these. I'll call them illusions of grandeur. Whether or not they're accurate is up to interpretation, but like he clearly thinks he's up to the task. And I remember this episode of Seinfeld where Jerry's dad had a neighbor who was played by Lloyd Bridges, who wore the shorts you mentioned and the tank top and like a sweat headband, you know?
Yep.
And he was always like, "Oh, you think you're better than me?" Like, I think it would be something like that.
My guess is, so let's think about it though. We're in Europe, right? Well, we're Slovakia or whatever. My guess is like it's a little farther south. It's probably not. It's probably like, like is it like Florida? Is my question. If it's like Florida, then he's definitely wearing those shorts, right? He's definitely got the shorts and the headband. He's probably got like a fanny pack. Definitely has a fanny pack. What am I even saying? Yeah. And then
where else is he gonna keep all his gadgets?
That's exactly it. He's got a bag of holding that is just a fanny pack. And then
the fanny pack of infinite knickknacks.
That's exactly. Yes. And but like if it's farther north, then he's gonna be bundled up for sure. But I like the look of him with his like old man. You know what old man calves are? Where like
yes,
you know what I'm saying? Because like old men who like are super super buff, like because they've been like they were in the military or whatever. So they just
from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. So like, but like the rest of their body is just skin and bones. So they just have these massive calves that stick out. I feel like he wants to show those off, right? He's got some old man calves going on.
Stapling a chicken leg to a popsicle stick.
That's exactly what it is. That is exactly what it is. So I feel like he's got those. He's ready to show them off. So yeah, we're gonna go with that route, right? He's got short shorts, headband. I don't think he'll have a tank top. I think he'd have like a polo or something, right? and speaking of his
old man
massive
Simon's
calves,
stepping out.
Yeah. So speaking of his massive calves, though, my thing is, he's built now, right? He's got that old military body where he's like, but he's still old. So despite the fact he's got the muscles and the strength, his joints aren't what they used to be.
No.
So now I think when you do the duck walk, you're going to be like way slower. You're going to be first. It's going to take you forever to crouch. Like his crouching animation is got to be a solid 3 seconds of him trying to get down. And then like another 6 seconds of him getting up and like leaning on a wall or something.
And like the crouching has like a 30% chance of just failing. Like you hit the down button and it doesn't
I can't do this. I also think at the same time, it's also like crouching has like a 30% chance to fail. Also, standing has like an 80% chance to fail. Like because there's no way he's getting back up. His knees have they've seen too much, man. It's hard. So he'll be like, unless he's got like something to like pull himself up, but
nothing that I can think of. Jeez, I mean, like, yeah. Not within the fiction, right?
I mean, like he could use like his whip to grab out, like pull himself up a little bit because he's got that upper body strength for sure. It's just his joints, you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
and he weighs nothing probably.
Yeah, exactly. Also, his stride, right? All Castlevania games, Simon has this stride when he walks. His animation is like he is ready to get shit done.
Gonna kill some shit. Gonna kill some skeletons.
That's exactly it. I feel like that's definitely gone now. He no longer has that stride. It's probably gonna be like more of a hobble. It's probably gonna be more like I'm getting there.
I can't imagine this without a walker.
But like he'll have like a hunch. He'll have a walker.
I just can't imagine it without that.
So yeah, we lose that patented Simon stride, and now he's just got the hobble, the hunched over hobble.
You know what though? Honestly, if he's got the walker, or even let's just go with the walker just for what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
Like not being able to move and whip at the same time makes so much more sense.
Okay, for real.
You have to balance yourself.
Also, on top of that, his amazing jump. Or not amazing, but like his recognizable.
Please define amazing.
Yeah, right. His recognizable like jump. What would you call that? Yeah, how you're locked in
iconic jump.
Iconic. There you go. Yeah, like it makes more sense. Like there's a reason he's not like Mario and moving in midair, right? Like he's locked in jump because that takes a lot of effort, right?
Yeah, when you reach like 85, you have to follow the laws of physics.
That's exactly it. We're bringing all this together. It all makes more sense now. Like, oh, why can't I move in midair? Oh, it's because I'm old as piss.
Holy crap, dude! This isn't even a change. Like. That's already in the game. He's already old as piss. That's why we figured it out.
We figured it out.
He just doesn't look old.
But he actually is super freaking old. And that's why he moves like molasses.
I will say, like, you know, for all the crap that we talked about, that like his jump does feel good eventually.
Everything about this game feels good because of there's I forget what it's called. Crap. But it's like the principle of being able to master something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this game, it rewards you because everything is super consistent. It doesn't matter if you like it inherently or not. The point is it's so consistent that you can learn it like a language. It's not going to change up on you. The only thing that kind of gets iffy is like certain hitboxes of certain enemies, but it's really something that you can ignore. It's not something that's constantly like glaring at you, right? Like it's once you learn it and you get it down, you know it, you can do it, and that feels good if you can master that. That's the one thing I do like about these games.
The only part that didn't feel like that was when they put the rings you're supposed to hang from, and it's like you have one shot at getting this, and it's like you can only whip in 8 directions, and there is a delay, and I get that like you have to account for that, but yeah, that's true. Yeah,
it's definitely that jump of, oh, I'm locked in freaking space. I hope to Lord that however I fling my freaking whip, it will grab onto something.
Right.
Because you can't really see anything because it's not like in the camera's view or whatever. So you just leap and you have this perfect arc that you're in every time. And no matter like what you do, you can't break from it. So like if you miss, you're screwed.
Yeah. And I remember like, because we talked about Ghouls and Ghosts a little bit when we were playing, like that was one of the things, like when I didn't know what Ghouls and Ghosts was, I asked my buddy who he had bought it on the Wii Virtual Console.
Sure.
He's like, you should play Ghouls and Ghosts. I was like, oh, tell me about it. He's like, yeah, like the thing about it is when you jump, you can't change your jump. And that was like billed as a feature by him. And it's like the fact that like this, and you know, the original Castlevania are kind of the only games that really did that. Like just goes to show that like, you know, realism is no substitute for fun gameplay. Like I get that you can't actually change direction in midair in real life, but like
speak for yourself.
Oh. I get that I can't change direction in midair in real life. But I mean, just so many games have done it, and like it's such a little thing. You don't even notice it, but like
no,
I don't know if it's like because of the way video games have been for the last 40 years or if it's just like a human tendency, but like it makes sense when you're in the air that you would be able to move your character, and everyone does it, everyone tries it in every game they play, and it works. And it like,
well, right. Well, I mean, like, what's the point of a game, right? The point of the game is for you to be able to interact, right? So you want to have control. The more control you have, the more you're gonna like it. That's why Mario.
That's good.
Yeah, well, Mario feels so good because you can control him so well. Because that's the whole point of the video game. Otherwise, it would just be a movie, right? If you remove our control, when you remove our control, like it becomes less of a game and more of like a visual medium of some form. Like that's what makes games so inherently great. So like when you jump and you have to get this tiny little platform, like it helps to be able to sway while you're in air to give you that control. And that's what I like about these games. These games, like, they're platformers, but they sort of like say fuck that. Like you're trying to platform based on like, you know, our set of rules, and our set of rules are you have less control here but more control here, and you have to sort of move it. And it's fun too, especially playing this game, I will say, after, like you said, the 40-something year, right? The 40-something years of having that jump, right? Having that jump you can change. And then going back to this game after not having played it in decades and not having that it's fun. It's a new challenge.
And like I said, it does feel good eventually, but yeah, like it just feels like what they gain from making that decision does not offset what they lose by purposely shirking the sort of setup standard, right?
Yeah, no, I can totally see that. I think that's a completely valid point. Because like for me, my enjoyment is that taking away. I've said this before on earlier episodes, but like I often like when developers give us something and then take it away. You know, like
which I think again is like a staple of the Metroidvania genre. I'm just saying.
You're right. Like, well, like, yeah. All right, smart guy. But yeah, I think it's fun to be limited because then it forces me to be creative. What I don't like is when they limit me and try to force me to be creative, but then their things don't work, like stairs. Like any staircase in this entire game. Speaking of which, now that we are old, stairs can't be a thing. Old people can't do stairs. So everything has to be handicap friendly, right? Nothing but ramps and maybe like one of those things, those like what are those called? The devices like you put up,
hover glide or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm
like
sure
you put it on the side of the stairs. Because let's look at Dracula's castle, right? It's full of all kinds of knickknacks. It's full of steampunk stuff. You know, he's got a chair set on the railing of some staircases for those, you know, mummies and monsters that can't make it. He's got to. This guy is a scientific marvel. He's an engineer of some kind, right? That's how the lore goes. Dracula is all about the sciences and whatnot. So, like,
why do you keep insisting on teaching me things?
Welcome to classroom, everybody.
Oh, come on, you're gonna scare everyone away.
I know. Oh, especially the time this is gonna come out. But anyway, yeah. So like, you know, he's got like one of those hover glide things that just takes you up the stairs, which is nice because now we don't have to worry about trying to freaking go up and down a staircase or jumping on a staircase and then falling through it and dying, which is the stupidest thing this game has ever implemented. Why? Why was that?
Over 50% of our deaths were because of that. I am fully confident in making that claim.
It is so dumb, and it makes no sense. Like, how could you? It's not. This is a Super Nintendo game. I want to make that abundantly clear. Super Nintendo.
Yeah,
not Nintendo, not NES. Super NES, right? There's no reason they could not program a fucking staircase. I don't know why they failed so hard at it.
Dude,
it makes me
in
so
real life,
irritated.
I take stairs 2 at a time. I'd be falling through staircases like mad. High school. Forget about it. Forget about it.
Just falling right through them.
Ugh.
Every time I jump on a staircase, I just slip right through it, man. It was the worst. Anyway, that rant aside, I just feel good. Like, you know what? That's the thing about this game. Being old, like, makes me want to play this game more because we're just removing all the bad elements, right? Like, staircases aren't a thing anymore. Like, there's a reason you go slower and you have these fixed arcs now. Like, oh, it's just a better it's a better game.
Yeah, you know, it does suck because in so many ways it wanted, like, I don't know, for me, like, the pinnacle of like getting what you put out of it, like right above Metroidvanias, is like fighting games, right? Like,
sure,
if you put your time in and you just know the capabilities of your moveset, like, you can pretty much do whatever you want. I mean, there's like skill involved in, like, you know, there's like certain characters counter other characters, blah blah blah, 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 whatever. But realistically, like, if you've trained yourself to be able to react to like whatever in a split second, like, you can get yourself out of a bad situation just by being good at the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like,
in
this game, like, you get in a bad situation through your own fault or not, it doesn't matter. Like, there's definitely way more of a window between like bad decision and bad outcome. It's way larger than in so many other games.
Well, that's because,
like, I made a bad jump and I have to watch myself make this arc that I can't get out of and fall for 12 goddamn seconds.
That's exactly it. There's all these fixed animations or fixed whatever. So like everything has consequence, which I'm a big fan of that. Even like when it comes to like writing, I love consequences. I love that. To me, makes something more real, right?
It does. Absolutely.
I should be a huge fan of them, but in this case, I feel like it's just a little too much, maybe just a little bit. But that being said, you do get stuck in these situations where, like, every input you make, you're stuck with, and you have to deal with that. But it does try to give you ways out of that. That's where all your items are for, right? You get all these small little power ups, and I feel like some of those are going to have to change now.
Yeah, so can I just jump in here because I feel like I've been kind of quiet through some of these, but like. So obviously, like, the weapons, what changes? That was a big thing for me, and like it ended up being more generalities than anything else. Mm-hmm. But like for the throwing weapons, like, granted, like weapons in this game are already limited use. Like that's what the hearts are for. Throwing weapons, like even more so than already happens, would be limited use. Like your joints, they're not a young man's joints, right? So then I tried to like, that's like a funny haha joke, like old people, blah, blah, blah. But then I thought about it, like how would that present itself? Like I think your hearts would max out a lot sooner. So just for like ease of memory, I was like, oh, maybe instead of 99 hearts, you max out at like 9.
Oh no!
Which is a little punishing, right? So it could be like 30, but like
let's give it like
you're also 125 years old.
Yeah, I mean that's totally fair.
You find me a 125-year-old who can throw a knife with enough force to hurt something, and I will rescind my statement.
I'm sure there are tons of 125-year-olds in Scotland caber tossing.
I was thinking Scandinavia, but I was going the same place.
Scandinavia works too. Okay, so on that note, though, I feel like yes. And that kind of helps too, because I was thinking about it, and I was thinking maybe the cross could be limited to just one throw, like you just throw it and it's gone, and the cross is from your grave, so every time you throw it, it's just got a little R.I.P. Simon on it, and he's just whipping that thing around,
just like, damn it,
damn it. Now I have to carve another one.
Now it's gone forever, just like my wife.
Oh, whoa! Jeez.
And all my
just
friends.
Like all of my friends. But yeah, so the cross he throws is from his own grave. And then I figured instead of a flask of holy water, it'd be a flask of aftershave. Which explains why it burns, right? That's why everything catches fire, because it's just aftershave.
Okay.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And then
you fight Macaulay Culkin as a boss, and you throw it at his face, and he's like, ah!
Well, you do fight Macaulay Culkin, right?
Please go on.
Nothing. It's just a shot at Macaulay Culkin because he looks like a ghoul.
Oh, that's good.
That's not good. It's needlessly mean.
Say it again so people can get the joke.
Nope, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Anyway, I'm not trying to throw shade at Macaulay Culkin. He's got his own problems to deal
cleaned
with.
Up his act. He seems like a pretty cool guy now, honestly. Like he's done no, like per capita, he's done more AMAs in the last like 2 years than most people, and they've like every single one I've read has been like gold.
Oh hell
and he clearly has like a great sense of humor about everything. So
I'll keep it up, Macaulay Culkin.
You know what? Yeah, if we're doing like cheers and jeers on the show, I say cheers to Macaulay Culkin.
I just picture that the skull with like the bug coming out of it. Like the worm. It's
the
just a
one
picture
that you fight in this game.
Yeah, the boss, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it's just Macaulay Culkin's like
career.
No, damn, no. I was gonna say it's a picture of him screaming, right, from Home Alone, and it's got the worm coming out.
Can we mock that up and like
no,
put that out when we announce that on Twitter? Announce this episode
to put my artistic integrity into that of all things.
What if I just give you money and pass it off as a commission?
Well, money's involved, eh?
Oh wait, I didn't say I would. I just said what if.
Oh, speaking of bosses, so the dancing ghosts, which we discovered, are named Paula Abgul and Fred Ascare.
Amazing.
I love it. I don't know how I went my entire existence not knowing that. That is absolutely the best. That is so great. But these two bosses, well, one boss, are gonna be. I was thinking like, well, these dancing ghosts were we're old, right? Like most of our friends are gone. These are probably people we knew in life.
Oh yeah, I mean, like there's so many enemies that are undead. Like I think you probably knew like a decent portion of them.
That's totally my next point is, and like in fact, most of the skeletons were people you knew in life, and which we could use that to bring back the RPG elements of Castlevania 2, where you could like talk to the skeletons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, most of them you probably kill. Like, I remembered you.
Marv, you cheated at bridge in 1687.
Cheated at bridge is much more wholesome than cucking. I don't know why
1691, and at the same time, it's 2018.
Oh my goodness.
So that's I had So obviously like, oh Marv, you cheated in 1688. Like I had 1634 just as a random number. And then
Isn't
I looked
that
it up
when-
and it was like,
Yeah, that's when the game takes place, right?
well, the game takes place in 1691. And then I
Okay,
wrote,
yeah.
har, 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 because it's exactly 300 years before the game actually came out. Which was something you mentioned. You're like, when did this game come out? And I was like, I don't know, 94? It was actually
Yeah.
91.
Oh,
It's pretty
that
early
makes sense.
on in the SNES's life cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe that
it's an
explains why
interesting
they didn't
tidbit.
program stairs well.
What do you think this is 1993? This is 1991. We can't program stairs.
We don't know what stairs are. Just jump on platforms, you fool.
We work in a one-story building that's a quarter mile wide.
It just stretches out.
It's like 6 blocks in New York.
But yeah, I feel like that would be fun, like, because then. So the thing is, as much as I like this game, I feel like it's pretty punishing, right? They could have made it
excruciatingly punishing.
Yeah, they could have thrown in an NPC who's like, "Oh, you killed this many of this thing. Here's some food." Or something. So anything simple to help you not
the wall
hate
chicken
your life.
dream is dead in this game.
Dude,
By the
for
way,
real. And I swear it's because full disclosure, we're not good enough to beat this game. So in fact, we're barely good enough to get anywhere in this game. So we
thank you rewind feature.
well, first off, thank you rewind feature. But secondly, we used a bunch of passwords, right?
Only
Actually,
that
we
one
only
time.
we only use like the password for the caverns, I think, something like that. Anyway, I'm pretty sure there's a new game plus mode, kind of, quote unquote, in this game, where like after you beat it, you can play it again and it's harder. I think I used a password for that because the health was basically never around.
Yeah,
I don't think we found a single wall chicken. Everything was
we
candle
found
chicken.
exactly one wall chicken.
Did we get one wall chicken?
I found one wall chicken and I gasped audibly.
Yes. Well, I remember we all got excited for it. It was ridiculous. I don't know why. I don't know if that's an actual thing of the game. I could have
It
swear
certainly
it was
was
more
in the
forgiving.
first Castlevania.
Yeah. I could have swore this game was more forgiving than that, but it was tough. I don't know what happened. If after 100 years, the guy who cooked all that wall chicken died. Like, I have no idea what happened, but like it was tough, and we had no health all the time, which made certain bosses of that game absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, but then we got lucky, and there was the one we fought, and we had full health, and it was just nice.
Yeah, it was right. It felt pretty good. That was the mummy was an interesting one.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because he was actually pretty easy. We didn't have to worry
I think he was
about
the
it.
only boss that we rewound mid-boss fight. So we found out you can rewind and like his pattern changes, right? Like it doesn't have it. It's not planned out. It just randomly picks a new spot for him to go.
Right.
So he'd move like on top of us when you rewind. And then when he like disapparated, sometimes you just go right back where he was. You just cheese the RNG.
Was that the Super NES Classic?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you to that, because that helped us
dude,
out
we
a
would
lot.
not have had any material for this game if we didn't have that capability.
That
Just
is
wouldn't have happened.
very true. I don't think I could have stomached it. And that's not to say anything like hurtful about this game. It's just like
No.
we're adults now and we have very limited time. Like if I had like back in the day, I would have sat in my room and tried to play this game for like 8 hours or so, or I would have spread it out over a couple months. Like it would have been fine. Can't do that now.
Yeah.
It's a little harder.
Gotta be a couple of years at least.
Yeah. But this game was very grueling, and there was a shit ton of deaths. And on that note, I feel like speaking of death, so I think he's the second to last boss in this game that we never got to. And I feel like he would leave you alone because he knows he'll see you in a bit. Right? I feel like there's the one forgiving boss. Like, think about that, right?
You just show up and he just tilts his head at you. He's like, oh.
Yep, that's exactly it. He doesn't even care because we need a reprieve, right? Even if we're old, even if we were young, it doesn't matter. This game is hard as balls.
Yeah, like the
whether
only
you're
text box in the game.
125 or yeah,
It's like, oh, good for you.
yeah, whether you're 125 or whatever, like this game is difficult. So like, it would be nice to give the characters like or the players a little bit of a, here, like, you made it this far, like, take a break. Like,
does he give you chicken? Like, does he just go a complete 180 on you? Like, yeah, you might as well make it through the rest because see you in 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So like, he doesn't even, like, you killed my 2 like guards, whatever. Like, that's fine. Go for it. Like, I'll see you.
Getting sick of that Fred Astaire.
That's yeah. I can't stand Paula Abdul. She's the worst. I need to replace them.
Do not attract.
Jeez. Straight up, she's the worst. I love it. And then so after that, after you fight death, you finally get to the big bad boss room. We're now in Dracula's lair, which, by the way, when we were playing, I totally thought we were closer than we actually were. We still had 3 other bosses to get through. I'm dead serious because we ended, full disclosure, fighting Smegma. I forget his name. He's the bird thing. Skeleton. He looks like a crow mixed with, but he's one of Death's lackeys or whatever. And then after that, you fight this other guy like Gobia or something, who's like he's basically a gargoyle. And then after that, you fight Death, and then Dracula, I believe, something like that. Anyway, so we weren't as close as we thought. And then,
there it is.
There it is. We suck, kids. That being said, though, so like, yeah, you go in, you finally, your old ass finally makes it to Dracula, and I feel like, so here's the thing. Have you ever beaten this game or like seen the ending to it, Cam?
I have not.
I've beat it once. And did I beat it?
Let's
I think my buddy.
Say yes.
I
think our cred has suffered enough.
I know, right? No, I don't remember because I was playing it with my buddy Jacob. Like, this is a long time ago, and I don't remember which one of us beat it. But regardless, but we saw it to the end, right? It was a pass back and forth.
You were at the very least an accomplice to its beating.
Yes, and I remember being like, so I played this game. I played this game after I had played games like Super Mario 64 and stuff, right?
Gotcha.
Like the 64 was already out by the time I played this game. But I got really into Castlevania 4 because like I remember playing Castlevania 1, and we didn't have a Super Nintendo at the time, but like everyone else did, right? So, but we had N64 before. Yeah, we had N64 before anyone else did. So like I would go over and play their SNES, and they'd come over and play my 64. It was fine, or my brother's 64. After I bought it off him. Anyway, weird diatribe aside.
It's the only kind we tell.
Right? I remember being super disappointed in this fight because this game is hard or difficult or whatever. But you get, like, the fight between Death is super cool. The fight between, like, I love the Mummy Man fight where you're on the clock and everything. And it's
that's fun.
Because I was a super fan of The Great Mouse Detective, that Disney movie, and you know where Basil fights Ratigan on the clock. Like, I was just all in my head. So like when you're fighting this mummy on the clock, yeah, like it's stupid like 2D sprites, but in my head I had this whole battle scene figured out. Right, it was super cool. And then you finally fight Dracula, who just teleports around, shoots some crap at you, and then you kill him, and then the window breaks. He turns into a bunch of bats and dies, and that was it. It was super fucking mediocre. And I remember being like, that's it? That's it? Like, I thought maybe we got a bad ending or something. And maybe we did. I don't think so, though. I think that's just the way it ends. So I feel like we can now explain that mediocre end boss fight with the fact that we're both old as fuck. So, like, it's basically these 2 old guys struggling. Because let's face it, Dracula's centuries old. He's not, his body's not doing him any favors.
Old bag of bones slap fight.
That's exactly what it is. It is some old guy trying to whip around a chain like, man, I'm gonna get you. And then Dracula's like, bleh, I'll get you. And then they're just slapping each other. Like, doing the best they can, but they're both old. Yes.
Bats.
And then the window breaks, the sun shines on him, and he's dead. And I feel like to put a nice little straw.
Wait! Oh my God! Hold on.
Yes,
hold on.
Go on.
I'm so sorry, but like,
nope. Go for it.
If this whole thing happens in the morning, like, could the whole boss fight just be like whipping a stained glass window and like the sunlight comes in. It's like, you ain't staying out past 4 p.m. so the sun's gonna be up whenever you fight this bitch.
No, that's absolutely true. You're right. You don't even fight Dracula. You can fight Dracula, but you'll probably lose. But
you just fight the window.
Yeah, you throw one of your crosses at the window or axes or whatever and call it a day.
Oh, you know what? That's like the secret like pro gamer ending, because you can only throw the cross once.
Oh yeah, so
save it for the end.
Oh, I love that. You have to get it and then keep it for the end. And then like yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm totally down with that. That being said, the end to this game is that you die in the castle. Because so at the end it shows like Simon Belmont, like he somehow makes his way out of the castle and all the way around far enough to be able to view the castle, which is on like this cliffside. And then he watches it crumble. There is no way your old ass is making it out of that castle before it crumbles. So you defeat Dracula, like, oh, I did it, and then the whole castle just tumbles down.
You're like, oh, I did it. I can handle these stairs. You jump into the staircase.
And you just fall to your death. And on that day, both the hero of good and the hero of evil perished. That's a great message for all the kids.
Bow on there.
I think like that's it though. Like you can't be old and survive this game. It's not gonna happen. Simon has to die.
So then, like in the next game, it's like 100 more years later, and it's I guess like Richter or whoever. Like,
yeah, see, it all makes sense.
Oh, there's this letter from your ancestor. Like they open it and it's like got $10 in it. I just need to make another old person.
I was gonna say no. It reminded me of what is that? The have you played Stardew Valley?
Yes. Well, I haven't played it, but I know what you're referring to.
Okay, yeah. So like where your grandpa gives you like this, like open it on the day of your whatever, and so like
check in there for $5.50.
That's this will be enough to buy you and your friends a good old chicken leg and some sody pop.
Shiny new baseball.
Don't spend it all in one place.
From the soda jerk.
The soda
and
jerk.
An egg cream.
Ew.
In 50 years, if somehow this podcast has survived, people are like, well, we know when this was recorded because we're just crapping all over the Greatest Generation. Speaking of which, let's throw some more on. All the money you find in the candles, or it's like I don't know if that's assumed to be like inside the walls or just like hidden behind some candlesticks. It would be yours. You're old. You don't trust the banks.
Okay, so that was I was thinking I had that too. I actually passed over that because I was like, it's not relevant. But yeah, I feel like
we should have said it earlier. But here we are.
Yep, here we are. No, I feel like like every money you find, like you find like a mattress to hide it under, or like you dig it in the ground. Like you're just like, no one's getting their hands on my gold.
Yes.
And then poor Victor gets this letter for like 5 pence. Here you go.
You must find the mattress.
That's the reason. Richter doesn't go to defeat Dracula again, or like with Alucard or whatever. He goes because he needs to find that one mattress so he can finally get his grandfather's inheritance. I love it. That's so real.
So, oh wow,
invest it in land.
So the inflation rate over 100 years is only 3.24%. So like that's still a pretty good amount of money if you just found a mattress 100 years later. And of course, the castle disappears when you defeat Dracula. It comes back 100 years later. So you don't have $100,000. You have math I'm not going to do. Dollars. It's like 99,864.
That's a lot of months.
Yeah,
that is a ton of months. Well,
it should be easier for me to do this math.
I mean,
you'd be missing $3,240.
If we're speaking of the greed of the boomers, then
oh goodness,
I know, right? Oh, we're gonna get real. So like, when it comes down to it, like he goes through the treasury. The worst level, we're gonna be 100% real. I have to take this tangent. The treasury is literally the worst. People complain about the clock tower. No. That treasury is awful. Those stupid treasure chests. Speaking of like having to be consistent, those treasure chests are the most inconsistent thing. Sometimes they break immediately. Sometimes they wait a half a second for you to walk on them.
It's so perfect, right? You see like the platforms you try and jump on are literally made of money. And then when you try to claim them, they crumble away in front of you. Just like real life.
How apropos.
Yes.
Ugh. Anyway.
So I was also thinking, like, again, translation error, whatever, but that's what this whole episode was based on. Like, this is the 4th game in the series, and Simon's been the OG since the first one.
Yes.
So, like, 125-year-old Simon is, like, talking all kinds of shit, like, we didn't need 16-bit graphics in my day. Like,
dude,
we needed a limited color palette and like only 4 sound channels.
He's basically straight up Cranky Kong. I love it. I love it.
And then he's like, when I was a young boy, like I could only whip in one direction, and that's all we needed. I guess 2 directions.
2 directions.
Like, I beat Simon's quest without a guide. It's like, it was your quest. Shut up.
It was your quest. We know you beat it. The story's about you.
Yeah, but that's like such the equivalent of like, I paid for college with a McDonald's job.
Right.
Screw you. It costs $600 a semester.
My job at the factory never went away. Well, I mean...
You just got to work harder. 80-hour weeks and I have to pay for a shrink. What do you think, Grandpa?
Back in the day, we didn't have unions and life was great. Oh boy. I like the idea of like, okay, so I gotta ask this question though. So if we're going based off of, I'm sorry, we're kind of like tangenting a bit, but not tangenting. It's just like whiplashing all over the place. If we're going on
whip, haha, because it's Castlevania.
Okay. Ugh.
You're splitting our fan base. People are gonna be like, Bam's right, and then people are like, no, Cam's right. That was funny.
That was funny. It was so good. If we're going on a Cranky Kong scenario, does that mean that what? Okay, so what if this is like because Cranky Kong and Donkey Kong were both called Donkey Kong, right? That's the idea.
Right.
So, like, maybe we were wrong about it all along. Maybe we are a new Simon, and then there's an older Simon who's sitting in the back just laughing at us. Were we wrong this whole time? Was this whole game a Cranky Kong scenario?
So here's my thoughts about that, right? Like,
yeah, sure.
The second time Simon showed up,
they'd
have to address that if that was the case, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I guess this is kind of the way I felt about Legend of Zelda for a number of years, where it's like, you think it's the same Link game after game, and then all of a sudden, Miyamoto comes out and he's like, no, you idiots, it's a different Link. How could this happen? It's like, because it's video games. Like,
right.
If you don't address it outright, like, people are going to naturally assume it's the same guy, right? Like, imagine going and seeing a movie with like Sam Jackson in it, right? And then another movie comes out, and in the on the movie poster is like Sam Jackson, and you're like, oh man, like the guy who played Nick Fury is going to be in this. And then like 3/4 of the way through the movie, like some tiny Australian guy comes out. Like, you're going to be reasonably and understandably disappointed, right?
I thought you were going to make the thing where it's like, what if in one movie this character is played by Sam Jackson, and then I don't know why Sam Jackson made me crack up. Sorry. Anyway, so and you get one movie where the guy is played by Samuel L. Jackson, and then you get the sequel to that movie where Samuel L. Jackson is in it, but he plays a different character.
Oh my gosh, that is some high tier director or casting director trolling.
Okay, but here's the thing, though, because I thought that's the joke you're going to make, and I was going to call you out on it, because that was actually a very common thing in the 80s. That happens a lot, where the character or actors will be in like the sequel to a movie, but playing a different character than they played in the first movie. I'm dead serious. This thing happens. It happens. That's a thing.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a point.
What?
It's like the era that made like Jean-Claude Van Damme famous. So
yeah, exactly. No, it's a fun era, right?
Oh boy, we have meandered.
Yep. I think as far as Castlevania is considered, or Super Castlevania 4, I am spent.
Yeah, I mean that's it's a little unfortunate, but there's just not that much to it. I'm glad we did it. It was fun, and I love making fun of old people.
I love I didn't think I'd rip on old people as hard as I did, and it feels good, right?
You know, like, does it make it better or make it worse that we're not ripping on old people in general? We're ripping on a very specific generation of old people, which means that, like, I mean, we're still generalizing, but we're not saying that, like, anyone who reaches an advanced age inherently becomes, like, a douchebag. That, like, our experience has been that, like, you know,
if we want to be real about it and just do a little philosophizing, my point is, you and I aren't technically youthful anymore, right?
No.
Like, we're hitting that middle age, but we're not quite there, but we're hitting there. That being said, I feel
that's cool, man. I wanted to cry in a podcast eventually.
Listen. This is why I drink. Anyway, so I feel like it's prudent that a younger generation can sort of mock, the prior generation. There's an importance to that because that means, we are growing. It doesn't, because growth, it really doesn't matter what direction it goes, whether it's inherently destructive or it's inherently creative. At some point, things have to move for anything to happen, right? And when we get down to it, like, I'm glad that we can make fun of older people. We still have respect for them, of course, but we can certainly poke fun at that because that means we aren't that. That means we have changed, and that means us as a society has changed, which is good. And I know for a fact that there are the youth that's being born now, or even like teenagers today, like, they're making fun of us, and they're going to make fun of us. And I think that's good because that means they're changing. They can see what's wrong, because I can't see what's wrong with our generation. Well, that's a lie. I totally can. But I can totally pick apart my generation. But regardless,
I thought you were going to be like, I can't see what's wrong with me. And I was like, oh, well, pull up a chair.
Yeah, don't be. Well, that's kind of the point, though, right? Like, it's harder to see things when you're in it. It's better to have a view outside of it, right? So, I mean, the younger generation, there's an inherent sort of looking forward with a youthful mind. The younger generation knows what it wants to be, whereas we have sort of settled in what we are, and the older generation is trying to find what it used to be, right? Fuck that noise. Fuck history. History is over with. Get over it.
We're just going to sit here and we're going to disprove that line of thought by playing a 30-year-old game.
By playing a 30-year-old game. I'm dead serious, though. Like, it's... The whole point of life is to grow, to adapt and move forward. There's no reason to move back ever. There's never a time I'm going to look at the 90s, like my prime time, and be like, we should go back to that. No, it's over. I want something new. Youth, make fun of me because that's good. I will make fun of old people because that's good. And Cameron, when it comes down to it, this game sucks.
Because it's old? Just like all old things.
I've been fighting it the whole time. This game is frustrating as hell. There's no reason. I'm so glad that games hold your hands these days. This is not fun to me anymore. It used to be fun back in the day. I cannot stand it now. I don't want... You know what's weird, though?
I mean, I have some answers, but I'm going to let you go ahead.
It's just, I like a challenge, right? I don't know what it is about this challenge specifically that seemed
I'll tell you exactly what it is. I will tell you exactly what the problem is, right? Like, okay, like when you're a kid, and you're like supposed to just like walk down the street, right?
Yeah.
Like you turn like 8 or whatever, and your mom's like, yeah, you can ride your bike up and down this block, right? And you go an extra block, and your mom finds out, like, or like half a block, right? Like, not ridiculously far, but outside the bounds you were given. Your mom gives you a slap on the wrist and tells you, like, you got to go sit in your room for an hour or something, right?
Yeah.
if this game was your mom, you would ride a half block extra on your bike, and she would like hit you with her car. Like,
yeah.
You know exactly what you're supposed to do. And chances are you've done something similar enough where you know you're able to achieve it. But when you screw it up, the punishment is so far beyond what is reasonable for the screw up you just made.
I feel like that resonates with me. I totally think that's it. This game punishes you, and it punishes you hard. And if it were an arcade game, I don't think it would have been nearly as successful because no one would have put their money into this, like, at all.
Yeah, you know, well, and that's such a great point to make, and it's like it's part of what bothered me. Again, I don't know. I had a fun time playing this game. I could have had a more fun time. That's all I'm saying. And like, and the thing is, like, it's really it represented such a perfect intersection for me between like old world limitations and sensibilities and like the promise of the new era that the SNES was supposed to be, right? Like it had these nice graphics and it had these like mode 7 scrolling backgrounds and all that crap, which would give old Simon like a headache, by the way. I throw that in there.
Absolutely. I can't understand.
It's like they definitely they went out of their way to embrace some of the new technology and stuff, but this, like, at the same time, in so many ways, it felt stale. Right, it would have been such a good opportunity, like, given that even in Japan, it was a carbon copy basically of the other game, just brought into the future. It would have been such a good way for them to like really modernize that, you know. But all they did was like, oh, you can like throw your whip around, right? That's, I mean, fundamentally, that's like, besides graphics and sound and stuff, like, that's really the only thing they changed.
Dang, that is a very good point. That is a fantastic point.
And so it has all this polish and all this, like, you almost feel like you're doing something wrong because it's like, well, this game's as hard to me as the original Castlevania, and then you go and you read the reviews and they're like, it's way easier. But at the same time, like, the things that are hard about it are the same things that were predominantly hard in the original. Like, stairs suck, whether you're jumping through them or climbing up them. And, you know, I'm sorry, but, like, people complain that the whip, you being able to swing it around, makes this game too easy. But when you swing it around, it does, like, 1/8 of the damage. Yeah. Right? Like, it's not as effective as people want to play it off as. I think that's people just, like, the get good, like, gatekeeping crowd, right? Like,
well, I mean, I'm sure people, too, also have more patience than we do, right? Like, we're modern gamers. We want to blow through things, right? The whole idea is that you binge something and you finish it within a day or two. Like, we don't have the patience for that kind of stuff anymore. So, like, when it's like, oh yeah, like, you can survive it, you just have to sit back, twirl your whip, and 15 minutes later you can move forward. Like, we don't want to do that anymore.
No.
You know
what I'm saying? And you know what? I'm going to bring this all home in a very real way.
Yes, do it.
So you just talked about patience, and earlier you were talking about my rage, which, dear listener, I have to insist, I only have with video games. I'm generally a pretty, like, easygoing, well-meaning, like, long fuse type of person. Just something about video games bring it out of me.
I will totally vouch that Cam is probably the sweetest boy you will ever meet.
Aww.
Yeah, I'm real.
So, like, and Hollow Knight, which I also mentioned. See, it's all coming together. Yep. I was playing it a few weeks ago, and, you know, there's a couple bosses towards the end of that game that are... they're the mom hitting you with the car, right? But again, like, the punishment, even still, like, you only have to go back a couple screens. Even so, I have a temper, and so I was getting real mad. Real mad. And it wasn't the first time, but it was these bosses were so unbelievably harder than the other bosses that got me to that state. That it was just like, man, I don't know if I can do this.
Right.
So I put on my headphones, and I listened to Bits, Chips, and Flip Scripts. Not joking. We had just put out an episode, and I was like, I want to see how that turned out. And I listened to it, and I was able to beat the boss, like, after 40 tries. No rage, no temper. So,
hey,
if you're at home listening to this, and you are stuck in a really hard part in a video game, may I suggest popping on your headphones and listening to an episode of Bits, Chips, and Flip Scripts and seeing how that treats you.
I will be 100% real. If any of you dear listeners listen to this and it helps you chill or it helps you feel relaxed, maybe it subsides that road rage, maybe it subsides that video game rage, whatever it is, and you don't just listen to us for entertainment, please let us know. Those are Jesus Christ, why?
What does this stress him out?
That I just shit myself. I can't leave that in, can I?
No, probably not.
Oh my
God! I'd go for it and see what would happen. The good thing is it'll be really easy to cut because it's gonna be a beat.
I can't. I don't know what I was saying though. I might leave it in.
So it makes you relax.
Yeah, makes you relax. Heard. Anyway. Oh my gosh.
I'm simultaneously sorry and 100% not sorry.
I hate you. I was trying to be all genuine and be like, hey guys, like that's super sweet. Like I want to know and I want to support you. And you just fucking...
Yeah, that's fair.
Good.
I mean, look, I'm legitimately curious to see what you were going to say. So.
Oh, no, I mean, that's just it. Like I just, when it comes down to it, like if this is something where like you listen to this podcast to subside your rage or to get rid of some kind of anxiety or do anything of that sort, like I want to know those are stories I like, because like the reason I do this podcast is to hang out with my buddy Cam and talk about games.
So I'm Cam and I talk about games.
And like the fact that you guys listen to it at all is cool. It means a million times more like if our podcast in some way helps people out. That's super cool.
Oh yeah,
and
I like that a lot.
I'd be super glad to know that you're doing okay listening to our podcast. So yeah, just that's all. Just me being sweet.
You're a sweet boy too. Would you like to sing a quick hit song, Bam?
I don't have a quick hit song. You go for it.
I mean, I don't have a quick hit song either.
All right, hold on. Hey everybody, it's quick hits. How's that? Did you like it?
It's quick hits.
Hey everybody, it's quick hits.
Oh!
Damn it. Anyway, I know you're clipping the microphone. That's going to be rough.
So I moved away from it.
Oh, thank you. So today's quick hits, we're going to talk about Simon's Quest. Yay!
We talked about Simon's Quest, idiot. I'm turning off the podcast.
Turn off the podcast. This one's stupid. It's episode 6. I missed the old episode. I miss
retro BCNFS.
I miss Bits, Chips, and Flip Scripts back in the golden years. Remember those? Already. Anyway.
Phase 1.
Yeah, phase 1 of
before they went all high concept.
Jeez. Anywho,
I like your song.
So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and take Simon's Quest, and we're just gonna fiddle around with concepts of what could we change the curse of night to be. So
what a horrible night to have an abnormal growth on the back of my hand that sort of looks like my Aunt Maud in that kind of weird little way that I feel like she's watching when I sleep.
That is. Why does it have to be your aunt? And why does she watch you when you sleep?
Well, because she's on the back of my hand, Bam. Please try and keep up.
I think I'd be like, what a horrible night to have a full bladder. I feel like would be a good one. So it'd be cool because the way it works is you move faster, but because you move faster, like it's hard to control your jumps and stuff.
Which, that game already didn't have trouble with or anything.
Ooh, pot shots. Let's keep them above the belt, if you will.
What a horrible night to be playing Simon's Quest.
All right. Okay. That I cannot end on that. That is so golden. Oh my God. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. This has been your host. I'm Bam.
I'm Cam.
And remember, the smallest act can make for the biggest changes. Have a good night, guys.
The end.
Oh my God. That last one.
I calls them like I sees them. Thank you all so much for listening. For updates on future episodes, you can follow us on Twitter at BCandFS. Again, that's BCandFS. If you have some fun ideas of a game to change, please feel free to email us at bcandfs@gmail.com. We want to give a special thanks to Melman for letting us use his song Flowers for the intro. It's a fantastic piece, and you can find more fantastic work like it at melman.org. Again, that's MALMEN.org. Thanks for listening.